Good afternoon, Karthik. I'm Sri Lahari, and today we are here as a team to interview you about your journey so far in the professional world of HR. And first of all, thank you so much for taking time and being here with us to take this interview. Uh, and then I would like to continue with the interview and ask you a few questions about your role and responsibilities. Uh,
Sure.
first, first question would be, could you mind explaining about how your professional journey so far transitioned?
Okay. Sure. Cool. So like you, I have also done my MBA in HR. Okay. So and I mean initially HR. I mean when I first joined MBA, HR was not something that wanted it. From the basics that I've learned in my graduation and my post graduation MBA. So something in HR has inspired me to take HR and LA, okay, in my MBA. And yeah, fortunately, I was placed in Deloitte as a performance management specialist through campus recruitment only, right? So once I have started my career at Deloitte, I mean, I was very new to the corporate world. However, whatever that we learn in college is one thing, and when you go onto the floor doing things, there is some other thing, right? Now, in the college you will be learning some principles, some theories. They are obviously useful, but not in a literal sense. So on the floor when you as per the situations, right? So what you learn in college, you won't exactly apply that on the floor, but the what college offers you is the ability to understand, comprehend, and learn things, right? So yeah, once I was in Deloitte, I think I had a really good time in Deloitte, in a highly corporate cultured environment. So I was a performance management specialist there. Over there, I used to handle a headcount of around 1,500. So I used to handle this wing called member firms. So I'm a performance management standpoint. So when we talk about HR, there are multiple verticals. Right? There is actually I'm a part of performance management line. Right. So what majorly includes performance management is in a broader sense, as you know, there will be yearly appraisals in a company, right? So I would be responsible person to decide on what employee should get what percent of appraisal, right? And now appraisal we give based on some things, based on their performance, right? How do we track that performance? Through some models, through some tools, through some techniques and all, right? So I was deployed into that line of performance management. And yeah, I think I've spent around 1.5 to 2 years over there in Deloitte, and then I have moved to this company called Next Wave, okay, which is a startup. So the reason that I moved is, firstly, Deloitte is a very decorated company, and there are almost like 250 to 300 people in my vertical of performance management only, to handle around 30 to 50,000 employees or something. So, so while you get too much of exposure there, the you won't get to experiment so much, okay, and your exposure would be limited only in the service line that you're currently working in, which is performance management. So I wanted to test myself, I wanted to challenge myself. So I have moved into Next, which is a startup wherein I got a chance to develop this process of performance management from the scratch. So before I joined Next Wave did not have a service line of performance management. So I went there, I have built the process from the scratch. I have onboarded tools and techniques, I have onboarded processes, I have onboarded different stakeholders, through which we currently are successfully managing this performance management for around 3,000 people that we have in our company. So yeah, that is majorly my journey through HR.
That's very nice to hear. And it's also very inspiring that you are the first person in your company uh, to be the part of that performance analyst role. And another question that I'd like to ask you is what made you very interested in HR and particularly the performance management role? What drives you
Okay,
to do it?
good question. So recently, from the last 3 4 months, I'll give a situation. Okay, I'll give an example also. Uh, from the last 4 months or something, I am hiring for my team. Okay. So I have been asking the same question that you have asked me to the people who are applying. Why HR? So most of the people, they tend to answer because I'm a people person. I like to talk to people and I like to solve people's problems. So I think I'm a good fit for an HR role, right? Then my next question would be, then why are you not a customer support executive, right? They are also doing the same thing. They are also talking to the customer. They are also talking to the people. They are also solving the problems, right? So that is a very misinterpreted answer, like why HR, as in I'm a people person, right? So HR is not just a people person. A very misconception that people have about HR is HR is someone who organizes office parties, office lunch, rangoli, all this kind of things. But that's not HR. They are more like an engagement specialist, right? HR is basically a strategic person. Okay. Now, what is the strategy that a HR would be playing? Okay. So there are two parties for an HR. One is employees, one is company, right? Now, HR is someone who works with employees to reach company's goals. Okay. Understanding the employee strengths, employee weaknesses, and aligning them with the business objectives. Right now, if business is somewhere bleeding and employee is someone who is not performing, I cannot be very empathetic and let employees still be in the company where company is still bleeding. Right. What I can do, what I can do is understand the company priorities, understand the wiggle room that I can give to the employee, help them develop, and if after everything that I do that I could, if there is still a gap, then obviously we will have to let the employee go. So HR is not just an empathetic person. It should HR should be a strategic person, right? Exactly what to do, right? When to do, okay, and by doing some things, what could happen. So all this kind of things we need to be aware of, right? So yeah, it's a very interesting role, and right now in my company, I think I get to explore so many verticals, not just performance management. I sometimes work with compensation. I sometimes work in talent acquisition. I sometimes work with other HRBP role, right? So yeah, that is something that I'm very interested in. I think I'm a strategic and logical person, so that is why I chose HR.
That's great. Actually, it's a great insight on real world rather than saying HR is a people person.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
not a big
strategic
thing.
role. So it's a very good answer that you gave us a real insight that it's strategic role. And my next question would be, what are the current roles? And you're working at the next wave right now, right?
Correct.
So what are your current roles and responsibilities in next wave?
Right. Yeah.
Especially being the first batch of performance analysts.
So I'll tell you. Okay. So it's a startup first of all. Okay, a startup built. You understand what an incubation center is, right? They develop ideas, they take challenges from the market, and develop these challenges into solutions and productize these solutions. Okay, so that is an incubation center. So Nextwave is a company which we call as a homegrown startup, as in people who work in IB hubs, who used to work in IB hubs, have developed this company called Nextwave, and now they are working in Nextwave, right? That was 6 years ago or something. Performance management is something that they have started 1.5 years back when I have joined. Okay. So before that, they did not have any idea of what should happen in performance management. What exactly is performance management? So management is not appraisal. Appraisal is something you give in return to what the employees have performed and to match their performance to reward their performance, right? So there are multiple components of performance management, including one is goal setting, right? So as an employee, at any given point of time, the basic thing is they need to understand what they are doing, right? They need to understand the goal setting process. So the employee has to know what deliverables are expected out of them in a specific month or 6 months, year, or whatever, right? So that is component one, which is goal setting. Second one is you can call them check-ins. Check-ins is basically a conversation between manager and team member. Now, expecting a seconds is one of the components, right? And third component is PIP management, low performance management. Okay, so what is PIP? PIP is performance improvement plan. Okay, so an employee who has been in a trajectory of a low performance, right, who has been a significant low performer for a very long time, we put this employee through a plan called performance improvement plan, PIP, and in that phase we will be giving them support as possible for them to develop. Okay, but even by giving this much of support, if the employee has not been showing the improvement, or at least not interested in improve, then unfortunately we will be asking the employee to exit. So this is called PAP. Next comes promotions. Okay, now in a company there will be 1,000. In the company that I am right now, there are like 3,000 people. Okay, now if I am promoting someone, I need to have enough evidence that why I should promote this person, right? At the same time, I should also have enough evidence why I am not promoting the other person, right? So promotion planning is one thing, right? And appraisals, as I said, is one thing. And there is one more thing called succession planning. What is succession planning is basically there will be some very important roles in the company. So for example, a role of CEO, right? a role of CEO or a role of a business leader or a vice president, AVP, right? Now, let's say for whatever the reason, one fine day, vice president of one of the service lines has exited the company. What will happen to the entire team? The team has to bleed, right, without a vice president. But ideally, it should not happen. So succession planning is where we build backups for very important roles. So yeah, that is succession planning, and obviously there will be ratings also, performance-wise ratings, and yeah.
That's great. Actually, it's very interesting of how like your role involves being empathetic, but also not empathetic at the same time because you need to make sure that people leave not so sad in a right amount of sadness. So it's a
Hmm.
hard role. Uh,
Yeah.
next questions will be followed by my friend, my teammate Alumni. Thank you.
Can you please say how you handle conflicts or disagreements within your team?
I don't know any sir.
That's okay, sir.
Sir again. Call me Karthik. Yeah.
If you have to handle two people and you have to promote them, they're having same abilities. So how will you handle both of them to give the promotion?
Okay, good question again. So when you talk about promotion, there are two things that you need to consider. One is individual readiness. One is role readiness. Okay. Now, just because someone is, just a second. We talk about promotion. There are two things, two main things that we need to consider. One is role readiness. One is individual readiness. Okay. When I say individual readiness, we talk about the performance of the individual, a team member, right? Do they have enough capabilities and have they already proven themselves to be promoted, right? That is one aspect. Second aspect is if the role is there or not. Okay. For example, let's say a senior analyst is there. Okay. He has been performing tremendously well, always beats the expectations, completely a high performer, right? But let's say there is no assistant manager position for him to be promoted. Now you cannot promote them, right? So that is role readiness. So when you discuss about role readiness, if there is a role, right? If there is a role available for this person to be promoted, if the business has enough budget to place this person into that role, right? All these things come into picture. So if there are two people, who are equally capable to be promoted, and first thing is I have to promote two people. Okay. If that is not a case, then obviously I will have to check some other aspects of this professional, culture, their ability to manage people, because performance is not everything, right? Performance only makes sense when it is, aligned with culture. There are cases where team member is a very high performer, but the cultural, side of that team member is not good. So we have to remove them from the company only. So performance is not everything. Performance is just part of what you are, right? But when it is aligned with other factors, it makes more sense, right? So yeah, that would be a basic evaluation criteria for promotion.
It's nice to know that not only performance but also other aspects are considered. So can you just tell me the strategies that you use to motivate the employees?
Okay. Motivate the employees under me. Yeah? Okay. So firstly, I'm not a people manager in a conventional sense. As in, I don't have people reporting into you, but I manage a huge set of people. Okay. So like let's say if a software engineer is there, a manager will be there. There will be a team leader. There will be a team under there, right? So when it comes to my role, we are an individual contributors at a managerial level. So a manager, not necessarily a people manager, right? However, I also manage all the people in my company from a performance standpoint, right? Similarly, there will be other specialist roles also, like L&D is there. Okay, L&D are also people managers only, but they don't manage, or there won't be people who are reporting into them, right? There will be people who they are managing from a learning and development standpoint, right? So these are IC managerial roles, individual contributor roles, we call it. Cool. Yeah. So what was the question? Motivate them. Okay. Okay. Good question. Again. All right. So let's take an employee first of all. Okay. There are two kinds of motivation. First of all, one is intrinsic motivation, one is extrinsic motivation. Right. Intrinsic motivation is something that you get when from the inside. Okay, it comes naturally to you. Extrinsic motivations, as in something like recognition and rewards, right? And praising them, all these kinds of things come, or giving goodies, right? A bag, a cap, a water bottle, something like that will come under extrinsic motivations, right? So, but the most important kind of motivation is intrinsic motivation only from my standpoint. Okay. So an employee can only deliver what is expected out of the role when they are satisfied. Maslow's motivation theory of hierarchy or something, right? So there he mentions a person, the basic needs which should be satisfied first, and then societal needs, and then recognition, something it will be there, right? Similarly, a person, we can expect a person to perform better or good only when they are satisfied of the job, right? So if there is someone who I feel that is not engaged enough, firstly I'd like to understand what is the problem. Okay, so the roles and responsibilities that they are currently doing, is it not matching with their interests? Okay, so I'd like to understand that first. For example, I'm a tech. Motivation is subjective, right? For example, I am motivated when I feel like whatever that I'm delivering is contributing to the company. Okay, and someone would work better when they have a 4-day work week instead of 5 or 6 days work week, right? So motivation is subjective. So you have to understand where the team member is coming from, and something that you have to make peace with is you cannot offer everything an employee wants, right? So you have to adhere to the company policies as well. Now, if someone comes to you and asks that, I want to work 2 days a week, so I will be able to deliver so much if I am working 2 days a leave and 4 days holidays. You cannot do that, right? So yeah, you can only do as much as you can. Okay, and keep the employee motivated. But yeah, you need to also consider what could go wrong. That is a very important question, right? And coming to the strategy, I think there is no better strategy than listening to a person first. Yeah, that's it.
That's nice, sir. We have to listen to understand.
Hmm.
That's very appreciating. So, can you just say if you have multiple tasks, how will you prioritize them and manage them?
Okay. Uh, right. So before I answer that question, so we are no more in a traditional world, right? A traditional corporate structure. We are in a age where AI is taking everything to next level, right? So you may call it an AI revolution world, right? Before it was data, now it's AI, right? So we cannot take everything in a traditional sense now. So in my current company, what we do is we mix up this HR with AI. We mix up HR with project management techniques, right, to do our work better. So there is a very important and a very useful technique in project management called task framework. Okay, now what task framework will do is it will help you put on different lenses and see a situation. Okay, uh, for example, as a performance management manager, I have three things on my plate. One is let's say driving a promotion policy, or so let's say other thing is driving a PAP. Okay, now let's say people have been in the company for 2 years without any appraisals. Okay. Now, what should be my top priority? Obviously, working on appraisals, right? So, yeah, I leverage task framework to prioritize my things. Yeah. So it has basically, concepts like drafting an ELP execution level plan and thinking what could go wrong before even starting or something, right? So if you know or if you can expect what could go wrong, you would have already done some kind of damage control before only, right? So yeah, this is one consumer standpoint, right?
That's nice to hear from you that thinking from different views will help us. Now, I request Bhavani to ask questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Taruni. Good afternoon, Karthik. I would like to ask you whether AI will change how HR functions in the next few years.
Absolutely, Bhavani. Absolutely. See, I am not at all a technical person. Okay, I have done my undergraduation also in my BBA. I did not even take mathematics in my plus two. Okay, so I'm not someone who is very well versed with technology. First of all, okay, sometimes I even find difficulty to operate my iPhone also. So I'm not a technical person, but this I can say with 100% guarantee that AI is going to revolutionize how we are doing things in HR. I'll give you an example. Okay.
Yes.
Let's take an example of an exit call. Okay. Let's say someone is leaving the company. Now, as an HR, what you have to do is talk to that person, understand why they are leaving. Okay. And understand is there anything that you could do so that they will stay back in the company. Okay.
Okay.
Right. And, take all the inputs from them and use it in the company so that you don't lose your top percentile of talent, right? So all this you will be able to understand only when you talk to that person, right? Now let's assume you are in an MNC where there will be 10,000 to 50,000 people. Okay. However, there are hardly 20 or 30 HRs. Okay. Now you cannot, let's say, on a bad day, let's say there are like 500 exits. Can you talk to 500 people at a time? No. But what if you train an AI,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Right. So yeah, if we can do that, we should, right? That is something that we have done recently in our company. Okay. Uh, yeah. So working in a performance management, I need to know how engaged the employee has to be, right? Or and how engaged the employers, right? So again, for me to know how engaged the employees, I need to talk to them. But there are 3,000 people in my company. I cannot talk to everyone every day. Okay. So what we have done is we have built an AI bot. Okay, AI calling bot. What it does is we have trained it from the back end how to ask the questions, how to be empathetic, what kind of questions can you ask to what kind of answers. We have trained it from the back end. So what this AI does is every day at a point of time, it will give you a call. It will give the team member a call and ask all the questions related to employee pulse, what how they have been doing for that day, etc., etc. And it will capture that data in the backend on an Excel sheet. So this data will help me to know how much how engaged a person is for that specific day, right? So if what are the set of the things that I need to do, so I can call myself as a proactive person, right? So often managers miss this kind of things. So what we have done is we have given a custom GPT. Okay, we have trained the GPT from the backend and we have given a custom GPT to the managers. You explain the situation to the GPT. It will only give you the structured feedback format. You just have to share it to the team member.
Okay.
Now here efficiency has increased. Team member is being able to understand feedback
What?
better.
Yes.
Manager time is also saving. At the same time, we are also seeing how the feedback is being given because even from the custom GPT, we are capturing the inputs from backend. At least I think 50% of the things that we are doing right now can be automated through AI.
Okay. That's really surprising how AI is blending into
Yeah,
HR roles.
I was also surprised.
So can I know how HR is involved in product or content feedback since it's an tech company? Next.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
How HR is involved in content feedback since it's an tech company? Next.
Content feedback, as in, can you elaborate more on that?
How I mean,
What do you mean by content?
content feedback.
So
How?
by content, do you mean the content that we are showing it to the students who are our customers?
Yes. I mean that.
Mm, but yeah, so there will be content teams, obviously. So any disturbances in that teams is a direct flag for us that the content that is going outside is not right. Okay, so we closely work with brand marketing team. We closely work with content marketing team. We closely work with instructors or tutors. Okay, so there are let's say there are some cultural gaps. Okay, now on the floor in front of us, if he's showing this kind of traits, obviously whatever that he's delivering over there in a classroom setup might not also be a very good thing, right? However, that is one thing. However, any class that you deliver as a tutor, we will be collecting the feedback from the students. Okay, so that feedback is also a direct reflection of how this person is performing, right? So yeah, it's not a direct involvement that we have with a content team. It's almost as much as what we do with any other team.
Okay. So my next question would be: any example? Can you share us any example of difficult decision you had to take as a manager?
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
And how you approached it?
Yeah. Too many things. Let me just choose a good one for you. Mm. Okay, I'll give you two examples here. Okay. So first one from my previous company, which is at Deloitte, right? So as I said, my role also includes a very sad part of making people exit the company. Okay, and I think during my time at Deloitte, around I think 30 people, I think I have I had to remove from the company because of the cultural gaps or the performance issues or whatever. Now, not everyone will be able to take it. right? So I remember this one situation where the employee has just suffered through a personal loss. Okay,
Okay.
and I think some family issues were also there with that employee. Okay, and she was in the PIP, and unfortunately, she did not meet the expectations, and we had to let her go. Right. So on that day, on exit call, she was crying like anything, like literally crying. Now, like like this. She was crying. I did not know what to do. So yeah, it was one of the toughest things that I had to do. From an empathetic standpoint, yeah, you can empathize with that person, right? But see, you can give as much as liberation to employees as long as the company is not bleeding, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if the company is bleeding, then there is nothing that you can do, right? You have given enough time for the employee to recover and start performing, right? And yeah, it's something that you have to deal with. It's part of your role, right? You cannot walk off or walk back from there. So yeah, what I did was I gave some time for the employee to cool down. Okay. And then I have connected with her again, explaining through the process why we had to exit her and what are the, with all the documentations and everything. Hey, on this day, you received this feedback. On this day, you have received this feedback from your manager. And this communication we have already made earlier to you that 2 months PIP will be there for you. And, if you are not able to reach the expectations in this PAP, it will be the last day of working for you. So all these communications and expectations would already been set to the employee. So yeah, I had to take that decision, and I did. It was one of the difficult decisions I had to make. And one more thing is a very common misconception. When you're working in a company, you think that you are working for your manager. You're not working for your manager. You're not working for people. You are working for the company, right? So as I said, in the current company that I'm, it's a homegrown startup, and not all the people in the company have a great visibility into HR things, right? So my manager also is someone who has been with the company for a very long time, but he's a tech person, right? But he's very capable of being an HR. But
Okay.
he does not have a working knowledge of HR, but he knows how things has to be, right? So whenever I used to get any direction from my manager, I ask him a question: why I have to do it? Okay, what am I trying? What is the objective? Firstly, and why do you think by doing this I will get that objective? Okay,
Yes.
so if you keep doing that, if you ask so many questions, only then you will know what exactly you have to do, and if the correct objective you will be reaching out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karthik. The way you handled shows how important emotional intelligence is important, which is not taught in our textbooks or anywhere. And I would like to shift to my friend Bindu to continue the next questions.
Yeah, sure.
Hi Karthik, can you describe a successful project that you led in
Okay.
your life? What factors contribute to its success?
Cool. Let's take appraisals only, right? So before I was at next wave, there was no appraisal process. Okay, people were there without appraisal for a very long time. Or if there were appraisals, there were in a very non-conventional sense. It was not a very good process, right? So appraisals is, I think, one of the biggest project that I have handled, and I have built the process from the scratch. So firstly, these people, since they have been in the company for a very long time, they have their internal lenience, right? So a head of HR is friends with head of sales. Head of sales is friends with some other person, right? So they have some kind of grantedness between them. So no one will listen to you because you are a new person in the company, right? Uh, but appraisal is something that is very important that needs to happen, right? No matter what. Responsibility to give fair appraisal to everyone in the company. Okay. Oh, I do go to the stakeholders. I went to them. I spoke to them. They were also on board with the entire process. But when it comes to execution, planning is one thing. Execution is one thing, right? While execution, now manager will come and tell ki, this person is good. You have to, can we give them like 30-40% appraisal? But I cannot give that for the same performance in a different team. I'm giving 5%. Why should I give 40% to this person, right? Appraisals depends upon individual performance, team performance, department performance, and company performance as a whole. So considering all these factors, we will only give them what they deserve and what company can give. Okay. And the company you go, they will say appraisal is not mandatory. And a company can decide not to give appraisal or to give it. Okay, but if they are giving an appraisal, they have to give from a fair standpoint, right? So if you go to companies like TCS, Wipro, Infosys, like these companies, they won't give appraisal to people for 2 3 years, right? Because it's not when it's not a mandatory thing and when it's not a policy level thing, obviously there will be so many disturbances. Why are you giving them this much, not me? Right? All these kinds of questions will come. So having all these challenges predicted beforehand before we even start the project, and developing a process document that if is getting if a person in team A is getting 5%, if a person in team B for the same performance, how much they should get. So drafting all these used cases. So yeah, it was a big project, and I think for the first cycle there were around 400 to 500 employees that we've done appraisals for. And obviously the after appraisal is something that if 50% of people are happy with the appraisal, other 50% will obviously be sad because you
How do you measure the performance of your team and how do you provide their feedback?
uh, okay, so let's say a team has 5 people. Okay, now a team as a collective entity is supposed to deliver something. Okay, for example, if you take sales, okay, now as a team, what is sales expected to do? Let's say one team of entire sales department which has 5 employees, which includes one manager. Okay, let's say they have to close 100 leads. Okay, now this is a team goal, right? Now this team goal is cascaded to individual goals, right? This 100 is divided into individual goals based on the current performance or current level of the employee, right? So this KP, what do we call this? We call this KRAs and KPIs, key result areas and key performance indications, right? So for example, let's take HR team. Okay, now a basic definition, or by the definition, what HR has to do, a broader scope. If you're thinking, first thing they they have to decrease attrition, increase retention. Some KRS will be there. Now, what are these? These are KRS, key responsibility areas. Okay, so this is a KRA for all the HRs. However, now performance management is there, learning and development is there. Our KPIs will be different, key performance indicator. Okay, so let's say my KPI would be to all the employees in the company, average rating should be 3. Okay, 3 as in okay, all the employees are doing good. This is a indicator that employees are motivated enough to perform, so they won't be leaving the company very soon. Okay, so where is this contributing to my KRA of retention? Similarly, learning and development, another specialist team, right? So what is their responsibility? Their responsibility to train the employees. Okay, and give a cultural kind of training, give on the job trainings, give off the job trainings, give on the go trainings. So it's a continuous learning scenario that they are building for the employee, which is also one of the good motivation factors, continuous development and learning, right? So their KPI would be to train at least, for example, 50% of the employees. So here, what is the indication? Okay, by training 50% of the employees, and if their feedback is satisfactory, that means this person is again, having a continuous growth in the company. They won't be leaving the company again very soon, which is also contributing to the retention, right? So this is their KPI. Similarly, my KPI is different. Okay, so my performance as an individual will be measured through these KPIs. Okay, while KRA is a collective thing, is a result of performance of different people. KPI is what I am supposed to deliver from at a task level. So an employee's or team member's performance can be evaluated through these KPIs. Okay, and talking about feedback, right? So if a person is lacking in one of their KPIs, that means there is a problem for this person at that KPI, right? So what we do is we enable the managers, or sometimes we will also be getting in touch with the team members, knowing what is the reason that they are lacking. Is there no enough support that they are getting for them to be able to perform better? For example, let's say in that department, the CRM. Okay, CRM is basically a tool that they use where they document all the sales, all the leads that they will be getting, right? So let's say the CRM is not functioning. Okay, if the CRM is not functioning, the employees cannot get leads for them to close the sales, right? Maybe could be that is the reason. That could be the reason why they have not performed in that KPI, right? So firstly, understand the perspective. Okay, so again, there's a very beautiful thing here called goal, reality, obstacle, and way forward called grow. Okay, so this is a technique that you can use while you are evaluating a performance of a professional, right? So what was the goal of the person? What was he supposed to deliver? Okay, and what in reality what he has delivered, right? Okay, and by maybe if you write everything down and then look at the data, maybe you will realize that the goal itself, what we have given the employee, is very ambitious. Maybe we have given them to close 1,000 leads, which is not possible, right? An employee can only do around 100 calls a day. Expecting them to do 1,000 is not fair, right? So maybe the goal is very ambitious, or there is a skill gap in the employee. So if there's a skill gap, what should I do? I have to give a skill-based training to that employee, like narration training, a parent call closing training, all this kind of trainings I should probably give. If is it a will gap, as in the employee has skill but he is not motivated enough to be actually performing on the floor. So there, what should I do? Okay, so we have to think from all these angles how we can accommodate employee with enough resources, with enough motivation and knowledge and skill to make them perform better. So when you talk about feedback, there comes so many principles. There is one principle called SBI, situation, behavior, impact, and action items. Okay, so there is STAR again, situation, I think action item, reaction, something, STAR, right? So all these are feedback mechanisms. So by using these feedback mechanisms, we will be able to give enough directions in the feedback to the employee. So yeah.
What advice would you give to someone aspiring to move into a managerial role?
So I'll tell you something that my first manager has told me. Okay, so when I was at my first company, uh, so someone has asked me to give a data, or someone from talent acquisition. Okay, however, I'm in performance management. Okay, they have asked me to give the performance data of people who were hired from some campuses. Okay, I have given them the data. Before I have given them the data, since it was my starting, I have shared the data to my manager to review. Okay, so she saw the data and she came back to me and told me, whatever the data that you have given is right, absolutely correct. This is what they have asked for, and you are giving it. But if I wanted, someone to do what they are told, or just to be an extra set of hands for me, I would have hired anyone. Why did I hire you? Right? It's not just because you can do the things that you are asked for. Okay. So she has asked me to think from a consumer standpoint first. Who is consumer? Consumer is not necessarily someone who is paying money to you, who is a customer, right? Consumer is anyone who is at the receiving end of your deliverables. Okay. So that was, I think, it is a very simple thing. Okay. Think from a consumer's standpoint. Okay. Consumer first behavior, we call it. It is one of the leadership principles of Amazon. Consumer first, or something like this. So what I right? So what I could have done differently there is understand why they are asking the data. Okay. So I went back to that person who asked, why did you need this data? So apparently they wanted to compare, the performance of people from different campuses, so they can, hire specifically from those campuses. Right. That makes sense. Now, since I knew this is the reason that they are asking the data, what I did was, I went back to my sheet. Firstly, I have categorized everything as per the campus. Okay. Then I have given visual representation of, this is what it is from this campus. These many performance flags were there, and these many high performances were there. Right now, if you deliver what they are expecting, they would be satisfied. But they would be more happy if you deliver more than what they have asked. Right, to give them more insights on what they need. That consumer standpoint is one of the key managerial thing. Right. Second one, I would say empathy. Before even I take my step one, I need to understand what exactly is the situation. Right. So empathy, I think, is second one, and comprehension. Comprehension is very, very important thing. Uh, Using basic English only, things that I say could be differently perceived by you, right? So if I say do X, you might do X plus 1. You might do X minus 1. So check with me if I want X minus one or not first. Check with me if I want X plus one or not first, right? So communication is also a very good. I mean, it's a big thing actually. So when I say communication, it's not at all something related to language speaking skills. Okay, communication can be anything. A communication is basically an interaction between two people. It can be of any language as long as the other person is understanding it or not, right? Language. It's about how you are involving others. Okay, because as an HR, you would be required to work with multiple stakeholders. Okay, for example, in my company right now, I handle 20 stakeholders. So if I'm not good at speaking what I think and thinking what I speak and understanding what they are speaking, right? Then it will be highly impossible for me to deliver a good result, right? So communication is also a very good important thing that a manager has to have. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us your valuable time from the busy schedule. It was nice to know from you and like how you deal with difficult situations, how you handle people while promotion, and also the misconceptions about the HR. And thank you for giving us
Yeah.
this time, sir.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. And I would suggest you to go through a couple of things. Okay, so go through Amazon's leadership principles. I think there are 16 principles of or something like consumer first, bias to action, scalability, something like that. They are very interesting principles. And there is one more thing that an HR to as an HR that you have to go through is concept of unconscious bias. Managers, I mean, it's a basic tendency to evaluate someone based on their recent actions, not their past actions. So when the managers are giving the ratings, they usually consider their past 1 month performance only of the employee. Okay, because it's on back of their head. They believe that it is what it is being reflecting throughout the quarter, but ideally it is not. Right, their performance in the other 2 months could be very worse, could be very good. Right, so this is called the recency bias. There is something called halo effect. All this kind of unconscious bias are there that you can go through. As a manager, I think that is very important for us to understand these unconscious biases. From my end, I think I had a very good time as well interacting with you guys.
Thank you, sir. It was great interacting with you. We had a great time.
Thank you. Is there
Thank you,
anything
sir.
else?
Yeah, very great
Yeah.
knowledge
All
that we
right.
received from you today.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
From the interview with Karthik sir, I learned importance of clear planning in project success. He highlighted how team and regular communication leads to better result. I understood how performance should be tracked using both outcomes and efforts. His feedback approach taught me to balance praise with helpful suggestions. He stressed the value of staying calm and leading by example. I realized that good managers support their team and keep learning always. Overall, it gave me practical insights into project and people management.
The interview with Karthik, performance analyst at Nextwave, was insightful and engaging. He explained how AI is replacing HR in tasks like bulk recruiting, making the process much faster. And I was surprised at how seamlessly AI is blending into the corporate world. And he shared a heartfelt layoff story from Deloitte, which shows the emotional side of the leadership too. And his content feedback at a tech company as a tech professional was very helpful. He stressed upon improving communication skills and recommended us books for the growth also. And he encouraged us to go beyond what's asked and offer fresh perspectives. He said we must have the urge to show up and make things better every day. I felt the session was very helpful, and he was very friendly. I have many valuable lessons to take from this session. Thank you.